All right, so I'm going to read the checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law during the state of the emergency. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board Facilities Committee, I find that due to the state of the emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has the access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID is 942-4777-6638, or by clicking on the following web address: public stream www.youtube.com/c/SRSD meeting videos. D, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Okay, so everybody's here. Larry, can we start with you?
Sure. I'm in my shop and I'm by myself. There's nobody here.
Okay. Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie Fitzpatrick. I'm at home alone in my office.
Matt?
Renaissance Guns.
Just a minute.
Matt?
I'm Matt Angel. I'm in my office at the SAU and I'm alone here.
Tom?
I'm Tom Ambrose. I am at my camp and I am alone.
And Jim Baker, I'm at my house and I'm alone. All right.
Yeah, get up tomorrow about noontime.
Larry's on the phone. Okay, so we need to review the minutes of May 20th. Does anybody have any comments about the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve?
Larry just said so moved, but we can't hear him.
Okay.
I could read his lips.
Okay.
I second.
All right. And all in favor, Jamie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm an aye also. Trust and revolving fund balances summary as of May 20th or May 2020. I don't see any changes to those other than interest. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. And budget reports. I've got a total of the health and dental plus the general fund budget balances. The expended is $28,050,657.34. The encumbered is $5,380,382.84. And the remaining is $1,594,000 $615.10. Any discussion or comments about that? Matt, I just have a question for you on the encumbered. The encumbered amounts require an actual invoice or proposal, right?
They require an obligation.
An obligation, okay,
Yeah, it's a little more basic than having just an actual invoice.
okay.
It's more or less a plan to purchase something, and they've gone through the process and we've approved that plan. And then they go out, make the order comes in, then we get invoiced, and at that point the expense is recorded and the encumbrance is liquidated.
So some of this encumbered money could be actually paid in July, August, or September, depending on when the invoice comes in.
That's correct.
Okay. And the remaining balance is whatever is left other than the encumbered. Are there any other claims on that money besides health insurance?
Yeah, so do you want to switch to talking about like the year-end numbers?
Sure.
It may be beneficial.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is try to wrap up talking about paving in this and the Memorial School entry. I mean, but not Chase Field. Okay.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And this is that year-end balance spreadsheet that we've had before. I just want to make sure that I'm doing the right one. It is this one. Share. So, do you see the revenues right here for $387,977?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, based upon the revenue report, we had surplus revenues. It was actually a negative number of $1,737,000. We have to add back the use of fund balance, which is that net income, budgeting for net income loss, and then the Fremont tuition, which means we're going to end up with a surplus of revenue of $387,000. Then your encumbrance amount, your appropriations less actual expended, less encumbered amount available for healthcare and for non-healthcare costs is $379,000 and $1.2 million respectively. The sum of the two is $1,594,000. Now, just remember, these are also May numbers. Okay, I'm trying to get the June number at this point. The system just can't generate it because we're in the middle of doing payroll. So I've gone through some of the encumbrances that are open to see if we can just cancel them. And I've come up with about $404,000. Okay. Now, a majority of this, however, comes from Jody's education budget. Okay. So we're going to have to thank her for carrying the day on this one.
Yep. Jamie.
Just a question, Matt. You broke up when you said something about Jody's, and then it broke up, and I didn't get it.
Okay. Special education budget. We have some surpluses in here because of COVID-19. Now everyone's got to understand this is a one-time deal. She has a little bit of extra tuition, a little bit of extra transportation, a little bit extra of evaluation funds. And so those are going to get returned to taxpayers. Now, at the end of May, they were still encumbered. And actually, the encumbrance is still out there. I just have to physically go through the system and close out these purchase orders. Now, it's going to be about $404,000. And it also is some supplies that we just didn't purchase between March and now. Because, with the remote learning, everything was done online. Buy all these supplies. So to answer your question, Jim, of the encumbrances, yes, there's stuff in there that we can liquidate and return back to the taxpayers.
And what was that amount again, Matt? You broke up a little bit when you were saying it.
The amount so far, if you look on my screen, next to my cursor is $404,000.
Oh, that's the amount that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, we're returning encumbrances.
Okay.
We're
I
closing out
thought-
encumbrances.
Okay, so that's separate from the 400,000 that contingency that we held,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
I was thinking the 404,000 was interest on the 400,000.
No.
Okay. No, the 4,000, 364. I thought that was interest on the 400,000. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
So then down below, these numbers right here, these are items that are not yet encumbered, okay, up above, but are projects that are outstanding. Okay? And for example, paving, and I'd like to have you guys have a discussion on this, whether you want to have paving this year or next year. And right now, the best guess for paving, or the best estimate so far, we've got one bid in for the whole paving job, which is just paving the parent entrance,
Line striping.
seal coating, line striping, and crack sealing the parking lot, is $65,000.
And this is just the high school? I looked at the bid. I thought it was just the high school.
It's just the high school.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to talk about any of the other schools until we do a CIP plan. And so I'm just focused on the middle school transition right now. Okay.
Yep.
We also have an estimate for the door for the second floor for the middle school transition. And then we have some electrical work for the computer lab for the high school, because I had to take a computer lab for part of the bathroom. So that means I'm going to consume some of this surplus funds of $2 million right here. 365,000 is going to go towards these projects. Okay. If you decide that you want to push off paving into the following year, then it's going to be 300,000. Okay. So right now I'm showing a surplus of 2,043,000, which is surplus revenues and surplus appropriations, unspent appropriations. We're going to carry forward 400,000 of the contingency fund from the prior year. However, during the last district meeting, we have 125,000 of capital reserve fund transfers that we have to make that are coming out of year-end surplus. That means I have $2.3 million to return to taxpayers. Now I'm going to flip to another screen. We're going to talk tonight about the contingency fund. Under the state statute, I can reserve 2.5% of the net assessment, which is the amount being taxed, the local tax, to all the taxpayers. And so we could withhold $569,000. If you look at the $2.3 million that I'm saying is going to be returned to taxpayers, if we reserve $500,000 for either emergency purchases, and remember the hurdle for emergency purchases is school board approval, budget committee approval, New Hampshire Department of Education approval, and also the approval of the Department of Revenue Administration. And if we get those four, we can tap this $500,000 for an emergency expenditure. Otherwise, the school board can use it to reduce the tax rate. And what I'm recommending is we hold on to it for this year and then release it for the next tax rate, which would be November, December of 2021.
Okay. Now that deadline happened last year, and it happened before we had a chance to meet about it. So we need to be very clear about those dates and check with the towns.
Yeah, if you vote school board to withhold the 500,000, I think it would be safe for the school board to have another discussion in August or September early September if they wanted to release a portion of the 500,000 to reduce the tax rate for the year.
You broke up when you said reduce, after you said reduce the tax rate.
Okay, so August or September would be, early September would be the optimal time for the school board to discuss returning a portion of that 500,000 to reduce the tax rate for the current year.
Oh, for the current year. Okay.
For the current year.
Okay.
We're
December.
returning so much back this year. There's no avoiding a reduction in the tax rate.
Right.
I recommend reserving a portion of it to the following year, because I think the taxpayers are going to be needing the benefit next year more than they will this year.
That 1.8 million that's available, how subject is that to additional decreases? What would decrease that?
Decreases would be expenditures that we would otherwise not anticipate for the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Any surprises?
Okay.
To me, this is a conservative number, so I think it's going to come in. I'm hoping it's going to come in a little higher than this.
And when will you know that?
I'm going to know that really the first couple of weeks of July. So it's going to be after the fiscal year end.
I see. Okay. So if you go back up top, you've got two columns, I believe, for under additional costs. The column that starts with 54,500, those are for fiscal year 2021. Is that right?
It could be fiscal. Well, it's two things. Part of it is fiscal year 2021, and part of it's going to be funded out of either capital reserve fund or revolving fund.
Okay.
This column right here is being used for the calculation.
Yep.
What I did was I just moved it over. So if you guys decide that this needs to go for next year's budget, I would literally do this, and it just automatically changes the calculation down below.
Right. So are these in the column to the left, the 60,000 and the rest of them, are these not to exceed numbers, and they could be less?
They are my best guesstimate as to the actual. So if you were to go back and look at a prior version of this, I said 59,000 for paving, but the bids are starting to come in just a little bit higher than that. So this is just a best estimate. So I don't want to say that it's a to exceed amount. It's just my best guess.
So that could impact the 1.8 million as well.
That's correct.
Jamie?
Well, it could only impact it depending on where you're putting it. So my thought process was two items that are remaining outstanding in column B, the memorial entryway and the paving. We're not really going to get to those in FY20. The memorial entryway, that's not a quote. We're going to be doing a lot of that ourselves. And that was the architect saying to Tom, I think he can get this done by, for less than $60,000. To me, I would tend to believe that line 20 and 21 are really going to end up being FY21 items. And I would be supportive of the $500,000 reservation. I would be, we have two of the three finance committee members here just by happenstance being on the facilities committee. So as we talk about the 500, I want also Don's input as the other finance committee member during the school board meeting when we talk about the 500,000 at the school board meeting. But I just think that's gonna more properly align, because I don't think we're gonna have any hard numbers on either one of those in the next 2 weeks. And we really would like to be able to lock some of these things in, particularly the contingency, within the fiscal year. And it's just cleaner. It's optically better to say we've done it within the fiscal year than to say we're doing it a month or 2 months later, but really it was back from the other fiscal year. I think it's legal to do that. It's just cleaner to go within the fiscal year. So that would be my thought process would be on those two items. We're not going to be getting to those until FY21, and we're not going to have really firm numbers before the end of the fiscal year that we move those to FY21. Matt, I'm sorry, Jim.
Matt. Yeah. Thanks, Jamie.
I agree with what Jamie said about the optics on trying to vote the contingency fund, because it's easier to explain to someone that it belongs in the current year. If we try to do it after the end of the year, then the argument becomes harder and harder to say that it's legitimately belongs to the prior year. Now, to add to what Jamie said, if we move the memorial entry and the paving to the following year, then that means what's being returned back to the taxpayer is going to be 1.9 million. After taking a $500,000 contingency fund.
Yeah. Although we could take 569.
Yeah.
You could take up to that, yeah.
Let's say you took the whole thing. Then you're returning $1.8 million.
And let's see how that trickles down to the bottom line below.
So if you took the full amount of the
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you took the full amount, it means a reduction to Newton's tax rate of 59 cents per thousand. Tax rate 35 cents per thousand. If you have a $300,000 assessed value of home, it means a reduction of actual dollars of your tax bill, 105 for Kingston and $177 for Newton.
Okay.
And remember, these are estimates based upon last year's assessed values, last year's apportionment.
Right.
So this is going to change.
Yeah. Newton has a reassessment coming up. So that's good point to make. All right. Any other comments or questions about this? I can't see you, Larry. So.
Yeah, I have no comment. I agree with Jamie.
Okay.
If you look at it with the adjustment that you make to the 569, just another way of getting our heads around it. So 100 this year. If you reserve 500 and you move those two items over to FY21, then basically you are replacing, you just took the 120 out of this year, you put it in 21. So the 120 and the 400, it gets to the 520 kind of a number. So I'm kind of good with either the 500 or the 569, particularly given that you've got that rollback capability next year when, we're still going to we have some risk. And we talked about this, I think, in the finance committee meeting. I think if people are in trouble because of lost income, because of COVID, not paying your taxes is probably one of the cheaper routes to go as opposed to running up your credit cards. So people might have to take that route. And
not that we're recommending that.
Nobody would do this deliberately. I mean, nobody does this unless you're in a bad way. But people could be in a bad way with what's happened with COVID. So I do think it's appropriate to have some contingency out there.
I agree with you, Jamie, on that. I definitely agree.
Okay. And I concur as well. Another facet to this is that we've pretty much been able to pay for the transition with money from last year and this year, but we're not going to incur the savings until we start the coming year. So if we spend a bit of that on some of these facilities items, then that falls within the within the range of what we were originally expecting.
Yes, except remember that this year I reduced the budget by $270,000 and I reduced 100,000 or more out of the year before because things were going so well. So
Right.
it's important to remember that when the board adopted the plan for the reorganization, I had said that I thought that we could save about 430,000, and a good chunk of that has already been reduced out of the budget. That doesn't mean that there isn't more work to do. I'm just want to be transparent about that we've been reducing it as we go to try to keep things like we came in with a 0.05% budget last year, increase, which is wonderful, including teacher raises.
Right.
Matt?
Yeah, so my thoughts on trying to pay for it out in next year's budget is so far I've locked in 40,000 gallons of heating oil at I think $1.66 per gallon. So I calculated it at a higher amount, and so I'm going to be taking a good chunk of it from there. So we're going to try to negotiate our way to find room in the budget to pay for this. But again, some of these items going forward, I still have to budget a higher number.
And see what they actually come out to.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
You want to talk about Chase Field?
Sure. Well, you were going to talk about, you got the paving. Okay. Well, it's not on the, there it is, but we've
There it
got
is,
the
yeah.
memorial. Okay. We covered the Memorial School entry, Chase Field. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just going to be an introductory to an issue that came up in the past week. I just want to make you aware, and I want to go out to either bid or get quotes for a consultant to review Chase Field. The issue is that the infield for the baseball is several inches higher than the rest of the field. And in my feeling, if some kid was running either home to first or from third to home and they go outside of the running track, they could trip and fall and break their leg, because it's literally a drop off just outside of the infield. At some point in the near future, I would like to get this committee to walk the field with me so you can actually see the transitions of the playing surface. Frankly, this just my opinion. I'm just a layperson. It's unsafe, but I'd like to try to hire a consultant to come in and actually tell the committee that it's unsafe and what we can do to bring it back into specifications. And then if say, for example, they do recommend that we bring it into do improvements to it, then I can come up with dollar estimates and then get approval from this committee to go out to bid, to go and collect numbers to actually do that, and then get it done.
Could that just be a matter of sloping the sides so that it's not a drop off? It's just a graded sort of arc?
Yeah, I spoke to the grounds people, and feathering in the sides not as favorable, because the problem is there's also a trip going into the infield from the baseline. They built up the baseline so much that it's actually crowned over both sides, and then goes to the infield, and then from the baseline to the pitcher's mound, it goes way up, and then the pitcher's mound is almost flattened out. So there's a lot of trip hazards from the dirt areas as it transitions onto the grass areas. And then if you look at the whole infield, it's raised up like 6 inches in comparison to the rest of the field.
So it's a matter of grading it to level with the perimeters?
Yes.
And why do we need a consultant to do that?
I think it would be best if we have an outside person just tell us that, number one, it's unsafe, and number two, what the grading should be, and then number three, give us an estimated cost before we pull the trigger on this. Because it may be that in the future that this committee could decide either that the current condition doesn't warrant the cost, and then I just say condemn the field, and then, or that we spend the money, and I've got to go find and allocate it, and then we can decide where the funds are going to come from to make the improvements.
Tom,
Thank you. Or we reach out to the community and say we need to do some community fundraising or grant writing. I just don't know enough about the fields to feel comfortable making. I think an expert should make that determination, because I just don't feel like any of Matt or I are really comfortable. I don't think Bob would even know enough about the specifics to make a recommendation, a specific, and also about the cost. So I felt like if we wanted to reach out to the community and say to them, I just don't know how bad it really is, Jim, and that's
Yeah.
what we're really trying to figure out. And we'd like an expert to tell us. That's all. It's that simple.
so when we're talking about an expert, I mean, are there local people that do this sort of thing? There are. Okay.
There are, yes.
They work with like little leagues and parks and that kind of thing.
No,
That's
Matt's
correct.
buddy's Bill Belichick, so he's going to get Bill.
Yeah,
over here to give a
right.
pitch.
Like AAA ball teams or the Nashua. What's the team in Nashua these days?
Oh, I don't recall.
So we're looking at little league level,
No, this is Babe Ruth level.
Babe Ruth level. Okay, Jamie.
So my question would be, is the condition that we're looking at something that has been there all along, or are we saying that the field has deteriorated and settled over time and it is no longer at the initial design stage of the field?
It's a combination of both of that. It has settled over a period of 50 plus years, and they keep adding dirt to the infield, and the dirt gets raked outside, creating the berms. But we've still been using it with the current condition. I just think that if you were to see it and walk it, you would be like, that's unsafe. But that's a lay person looking at the field. And this is why I think it's appropriate to bring in a consultant.
Yeah,
So-
I like the, I'm sorry.
When would you propose that person be found or people found, and how would we find them?
So I'd like to try to put out a notice in the paper, and then also try to call all of the ones that we're aware of in the local area,
Mhm.
and get proposals and bring them before this committee, and then have one selected at the next meeting.
Okay. Any further discussion on this?
I would only comment that I would welcome the opportunity to walk it and understand what it is.
Yeah. So would I.
There's another. Can I just, Jim?
Yeah, go ahead.
You also probably ought to walk the track, because at some point we need to have a conversation about what we're going to do with the track. And I just want to give you a heads up that 2 years ago was expressed to me that the track needed to be redone. And there is a point with the track, with the type of surfacing that they have to do, where if you let it go too long, it does cost way more to refinish. And we're getting there. I don't know where we are. I think we need to get some more opinions, but my understanding is that we're getting there relatively quickly. And that is a big ticket item. I worked in a district that let it go for too long, and it ended up being a huge ticket item. So I don't want that to happen with the track, right? It's like roofing. It's like other things. It seems fine until it just goes. And when it goes, it's bad. So I'm just saying that could we kind of, if you're going to take a tour of the Little League field, you might want to also, at the same time, coordinate a tour of the track just so that you've seen it.
Yeah.
Is the track one of those composite type surfaces, or is it? It is. Okay.
Yeah,
I believe so, Matt. Yes,
yeah, it's like a rubberized surface.
All right. So, well, yeah, let's combine those two field trips. Okay.
That track is composite, and it is wet.
Okay. Wet, you said?
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother issue.
Because when you walk across that field, it's
there are
mud.
a lot of issues.
Okay.
Yeah, the high school field is, I don't have good solutions for that.
So that's the similar story as the football field then, as far as
football-
wet
yeah.
wet
It's
goes.
the same. Yep.
The football field is actually a little higher than
Yeah.
the other playing surfaces. And for Chase Field and the baseball in there, I prefer to rehab that because frankly, in the springtime, the high school field is underwater, and I would like to have a nice surface for the high school team to play on in the spring.
And that would be the Chase Field.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Chase Field is a gem.
Yeah.
For the district.
All right. So you'll follow up and keep us informed. Thank
Yep.
you.
And I'll try to schedule a time to walk it with you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Anybody have anything else? All right. Tom. Oh, okay. Thumbs up. Yep. Okay. Jamie.
At some point in time, and I don't know when the governor's new rules are, it'd be good to take a walk through the high school too and see where we stand on the locker rooms, the bathrooms, etc. Take that in also. So if we're doing a series of field trips, I got the note from my mother. You'll have to take my word that she signed it, so that I can go on a field trip.
Well, that's
Do you
great.
wanna-
We could hit
I
all of
walked
them.
through it. I'll just say that I walked through it on Monday, and it is definitely worth going. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to praise Matt wholeheartedly. He has worked tirelessly, and I am really, you get to know people through the most about their character through conflict or adversity,
Right.
and Matt has stepped up to the plate in a way that I could only see through such a challenging time. So I just want to take a moment before we end this meeting to thank Matt for everything he's done. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. Kudos to Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So if that's it, we'll adjourn the meeting.